writes in with a question about location releases and permissions. Hi, I'm Gordon Firemark, and this is Asked and Answered, where I answer your entertainment law questions so you can take your career in business and show business to the next level.
Hi, I'm Sarah Werner. I am the host, writer, editor, producer, pretty much everything here at the Right Now podcast. The Right Now podcast is a podcast for aspiring writers, and it gives you the time, energy, and courage you need to pursue your passion and to write every day.
Hey, good morning, guys. Matt Castor here, and I want to answer an email I received from Jonathan asking about the loudness range. If you've listened or watched my videos before, you'll notice that I always refer to the Audio Engineering Society. Their recommendation is a 4 dB difference, and there's several reasons for that, but one of the most important reasons is it makes it very painful to listen to if you have a tremendous jump. Now I'm going to bring up my loudness meter, and here we've analyzed this track. This is the original track that was brought in. The loudness range is a 9.5. The true peak is a 2.8 dB total peak. Okay. What we want to concentrate on right now, though, is making this all the same level. Now with Reaper, this is actually a negative 19.5 LUFS, which barely does come under the mark. We want to be between a negative 16 and a negative 20 LUFS. So with Reaper, if you know, like you've heard me say it many times, you have to add the 3 dBs to it. So, and this is the only number. These numbers right here all stay the same. So if you notice up here, you'll see these valleys. And this is where the host is speaking. And then when the host finishes speaking, then the person they're interviewing, they're jumping up way up here. So you have to adjust your volume in order to hear the host. So when you do, you're raising that volume level. Okay. So then as the interviewee comes in, it just blasts right through that earbud or your headphones or your speakers or whatever you're listening to. Now, this morning I pulled this off the internet. Another thing, you never know where your podcast is going to wind up. I was up there checking out some information on homeowners associations, and that's where I found this podcast. So if you look at the 2.8 dB total peak, that's what you're looking at here. Okay, all these lines that are going up like that, and you'll see them once they hit this zero plane and they go past, and that's what's peaking, or what they refer to as clipping. If you have high dollar audio gear that you're listening through, this is where you'll hear that crackling, popping, scratchy sound. Okay. So what we're going to do, we're not going to concentrate on any of this other than the fact that we want to bring these valleys up closer to this peak. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up my FX control. And this particular little gem right here is called a tri-leveler voice processor. This is a free plugin. It works very well with Reaper. Now, the two things that I've adjusted, I've come up to my target range, which is a negative 16 dBs. Okay, now this is in the RMS, the root mean squared. This is not in the LUF range. Don't worry about this. Like I said, you have to play with your plugins. For me, this is what works. Now, down here on the output trim, I've got a negative 1 dB. Okay, this is where you want to basically put this. Everything else stays at the default, just like it is. So, and another thing I want to answer, somebody says, how come you always have those same plugins when you add or subtract in your videos? And these are the 5 plugins that I normally use. And I just set it up in an FX chain. That way they're always there when I come into my audio. So At this point, we're going to go ahead, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this track, I'm going to render it, and this time I'm going to render it into a stereo. Here we have our stereo. We're going to come up here. We have our source as the master mix. We're going to add it back into Reaper once it finishes, and then we're going to see what our peaks and valleys look like once we finish this. And this is very important. Think about yourself being in an office environment. You've got 15, 20 people in there. Everybody's able to listen to their own music if they want to. You want to have it at a very low volume. And if you have a piece of audio that just goes from very soft to very loud all the way through, you're either constantly going to be adjusting your audio volume or everybody else is going to be able to hear it. You can apply this to the same thing if you're in an environment where you want to be the only one listening to it and you don't want to disturb other people. Then, human nature dictates you want to listen to this at the same volume all the way through. And like I said, if you have earbuds in or some high dollar headphones, it's going to blow your eardrums out. It's going to make it very uncomfortable to listen to. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and render the one file. We're going to override it, and we're just going to watch and see what this does. Now you can see here what it's doing. It's showing you that it's applying a limiter. It's also gating, and it's going to go through and do its process. But now look up here at the waveform coming through. Okay, this waveform now is all nice and neat and even, and we'll take a closer look at that. You can see our output is now at a negative 1.1 dB total peak, which is exactly where we want it. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pause the video and then come back and we'll look at the two side by side. Okay, guys, so now as we come on and we see our total peak is a negative 1.1. Look at that waveform all the way across. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at it as it throws it back onto the track. We'll go ahead and turn the FX controls off here. And we'll go ahead and close this down. And now look at that. Okay. Now I want to go ahead and just find a valley here. We'll go ahead and zoom in on this part. See the tremendous difference? As we come through here again, like I said, now this is the co-host speaking, or I'm sorry, the host speaking, and then this is the person that he's interviewing. So look at the difference in the waveform from here up to here. Now, just as this part of it is louder than the softer part here, when we come down and look at it on the master track, it still holds those same dynamics in the audio, but now the jump from this part to this part is 2.2 dBs. Okay? And it really is just that simple to level your audio in Reaper. Okay? If you have any questions, shoot me an email, give me a call. Be more than happy to go into further detail. And also, one last thing I want to point out is on this particular one, I did not have to use a peak limiter. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and analyze these two tracks. We're going to come up and grab our loudness meter. This is the first one that we've already analyzed, and you can see it's 9.5 with a true peak of 2.8 dBs total peak. All right, we're going to go ahead and remove this track. We're going to come down and highlight track number 2, which is the one that we just produced. And we're going to analyze this track. And this is probably going to take about 5 minutes. Once this is done, we'll be right back. Okay, guys. Now, as you can see, after we've analyzed the track that was applied with the FX as far as leveling out the audio, with Reaper, if you've listened to me before, again, this negative 14 is really a negative 17.2. Our loudness range is now down to a 1.8. Our true peak is at a 0.9 dB total peak. We're 1/100ths off from our negative 1. This is an awesome thing. So what we're going to do now is we're simply going to go ahead and look at some of this audio via the meter here. Okay, and I apologize, I was getting ready to sound off, but I do want to show you the difference in this audio So we're going to go ahead and solo the original track, and let's watch the meter go here as the host is talking up to where the person being interviewed is talking, and you'll see a tremendous jump. Okay. And this is going to represent that 9.5 dB difference for the loudness range. Okay. So let's go ahead and listen to that.
Point. Do you find that some people try to go too big with who they try to collaborate with right away? Like maybe they're like, oh my gosh, this guy has 500,000 subscribers. Let me talk to him. Do you find that they kind of shoot too big, or what's kind of your view on that?
Now, you see when it first started off, how it went from an 8 or somewhere around a -8 to the -3.2. And when you look at the 8, it's going by these peaks right here. So if you come down to a lower part of that audio, and we're going to try and start and stop it there. So let's just watch the meter between here and here. Oh, sorry about that. And just see what the meter says.
Has 500,000 subscribers. Let me talk to him.
Okay, see, we're at a -13.9. Now, if we come over to where the person being interviewed comes in, let's watch what it reads right there. Okay, it's a -3.2. Okay. And that's where you get the numbers, the 9.5 or the 9.2. You know, this is where they're adding up at. That's where you get that 9 dB difference. So now let's come over on track number 2. Let's solo it. And let's watch our same meter now. And let's do the same thing with this. Okay, it's a -2.1. And then we're going to come over to where the person being interviewed is, which is right here. And let's go ahead and see what that says. And see, that's a -3.2. So there's a tremendous difference, as you can see in that audio. And now from the host to the person being interviewed is a very comfortable listening volume. All right. God bless. And we are out of here.